Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again with another review. And today, I have a brand new hard case for your DJI Mavic 3 drone from our friends over at Nanuk. Now, I fly a wide variety of drones, and whenever I buy a new drone, the very first accessory I'm looking for is a really nice case to protect that drone. Because, let's be honest, drones are expensive, plus you're going to take them out there in the field with you, which means they're in the back of your car, maybe they're in your motorcycle, and they're going to get banged around. So if you just throw them in the back of the car or you throw them in a backpack, you could put something down on top of it. Plus there's dirt and there's dust inside those backpacks. So finding a case that really protects the drone is very important for me. And really a good case will do two things. The first thing it does is protect the drone. So a hard case like this, once you put the drone inside, it's nestled in there. It's got a nice little spot for the drone to sit. All the accessories have their own little spot. You close that case, it's completely protected because it's crush proof, it's waterproof, dust won't get in there, dirt won't get in there. So its primary purpose is to protect your drone, and it does a great job of that. The second thing, which I think is probably just as important, is it helps you organize your gear. So the right case will have slots cut in it for the drone, the controller, the charging cables, maybe there's a hub that you're going to use to charge it. Everything you need for that drone goes in the case. So it organizes your gear, because the worst thing that can happen is you've got a beautiful sunny day, you're all excited to go out and fly, you grab your drone, you head out the door, you drive an hour to get to the location and find out, I'm missing something, I'm missing a cable, oh, I forgot to bring this, I forgot to bring that. If it's all in the case, you're taking the case and you're good to go. You basically charge up your drone, drop it in the case, everything you need's inside there. So for me, it organizes my gear and it protects my gear, which is really important. Now, this is the 925 case from Nanuk, and I've tested a lot of different hard cases. I really like this company because they've been around a long time. They've made cases for a wide variety of electronic equipment and other types of gear that needs to be protected. And I know there's a lot of different styles of cases on the market. And honestly, if it's a smaller drone, I may go with a soft case. So if I'm flying a Mini or even an Air 2S, I'll use probably a softer case because they're smaller, the accessories are smaller, and those soft cases do a pretty good job of keeping everything organized and keep it protected. The problem is when you get a bigger drone like the Mavic 3 or even the Air 2S for that matter, they're bigger and everything's bigger. The batteries are bigger, the chargers are bigger, everything is bigger. So I want to have a case that's substantial to protect all that and plus protect the investment that I've made in that drone. And again, organize all my gear. So I like a hard case for the bigger drones. And again, there's a lot of companies that make hard cases, and it would be difficult sometimes to understand the differences between the manufacturing products out there, but I'll go through it a little bit and explain why the Nanuk case is really my favorite of all the cases on the market. But before I do, let me just do a quick unboxing. There's not a lot in the box. When you pop open the box, this beautiful box, you'll find the case. You'll also find some paperwork. So there's a catalog there that shows you all the other things that Nanuk makes. By the way, they make this case in like 6 or 7 different colors. I like black. It just matches all my other cases. So you can choose whatever color you like. They've got, I think, caution orange. They've got yellow, they've got olive, they've got a gray, there's a bunch of colors, so you can check that on the website. But anyway, that'll show you other products they make. There's a warranty registration card. Now you might think, why am I going to register it for warranty? Well, it's warranted against failure. Now it's not going to fail. I can tell you I've done some pretty abusive things to the other Nanuk cases I've got, and they've survived just fine. Man, they get dirty and scratched up, but they're not going to crack. They're not going to let dirt or water inside, but register it because I guess they've got a promotion going where you may win something if you register it. So look into that. And then finally, they give you a sticker, which I think is kind of cool. Now you could stick this on your car, you could stick it on your forehead, you could stick it on the unit, whatever you want to do with it. But if you're proud of the case and you want to brag about being a drone flyer, maybe stick that on your car. Somebody will ask you, what's with the sticker? Well, that's my Nanuk case for my Mavic 3. So maybe you start a conversation there. All right, so that's pretty much, oh, in the case, you get that too. I almost forgot to mention that. The case is in the box as well. Anyway, now what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about what makes it different than some of the other cases on the market. And then I'll actually do a closer look to show you what fits in there, because it does seem like a big case until you hold it. But when you realize exactly what you can put in the case, it's pretty amazing that they've cut slots for all that in there. So basically what's different is the fact that it's made out of a special material. It's a resin material, and it's called the NK7, I believe it is. Let's see. Yeah, NK7, which is a proprietary formulation from a Nanuk. Now, I've tried to get details on exactly what that formulation is, but nobody's talking. So it's a secret formulation that keeps the case in really good shape if it gets hot, if it gets cold, if it gets banged around. I've had these cases for, geez, I gotta say 5 years plus on a lot of my older drones. Not a problem whatsoever. The hinges are rock solid, the case is rock solid, and again, they've been on airplanes with me, they've been through the luggage, it's just gotten a lot of abuse and they hang in there. Another important thing is the sealing mechanism on the case, because you want to make sure that any case you use closes up nice and tight so water can't get in, so dust and dirt can't get in, because you're trying to protect the material inside. This has a special claw latches on the front, which I'll show you a little close up in a bit, but the latches are nice because they're heavy duty and they latch locked closed. You actually have to push down on a tab to open them up, so it's not like the case is going to spring open on you when you're carrying it through a field. I also like the fact that they lock in the open position, because a lot of the latches are flapping around, and when you open them up and you try to open the case, maybe a latch hangs onto the case and you're just wrestling with the thing. Another really important difference, and this is something that a lot of people miss, is the quality of the foam. Because if you think about it, when you first buy a case, it's great. Everything works great. You put the drone in there, everything's fine. But over time, with inserting and pulling out the drone and all the accessories and putting things in, taking them out, you're going to wear that foam down. And it's really important to understand how resilient the foam is, because if it starts breaking down, now you've got these little flakes of foam floating around inside your drone case. Now think about that for a second. You've got a lens in there, you've got a really sensitive gimbal in there, you've got all kinds of electronics in there, and if that foam floats around inside the case and gets on your camera, gets in your gimbal, gets inside the drone, it's going to cause you a lot of problems. So some of the less expensive cases really don't hold up that well, because I did some testing where I had two cases side by side for a year when I had the Mavic 2, because I had the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom, and I thought, let me buy two cases. One was the Nanuk case. The other one, I won't mention the manufacturer, but it was about half the price, maybe a third of the price. And I thought, well, am I going to really spend 3 times the money to get this one if the other one holds up real well? So I used that case for 2 months, and I found that after about 2 months, that less expensive case, the foam was breaking up. There were chunks of foam all over inside the case. So the Nanuk looked just like the day I bought it. So it's really important that the foam is good. Another cool thing about it that I like is that it floats. Now, I don't know why you'd worry about that. I've only dropped one drone case in the water because I was getting on a boat. I had a bunch of stuff in my arms and I dropped it and it bounced on the water and floated and I was able to grab it. But if you're out in the water a lot, maybe you like throwing your case in the lake. I don't know why you'd use that, but it seals tight enough where water's not going to get inside. So they've done a great job overall with the case. Now, if you stay tuned, what I'd like to show you next is how everything fits in there, because one of my big pet peeves with some of the cases is that they don't hold everything. So they'll hold the drone, the controller, but with this one, there's 2 different versions of the drone. So you can get the Mavic 3 Pro, or you can get the Cine edition. If you get it with the smart controller, I don't want to have to buy 2 cases. So if you buy the standard controller or you buy the smart controller, they'll both fit in here. And if you're going to pack in the standard controller like I have here, you've got a giant open space down there where you can put a ton of accessories in that you may want to bring along for an afternoon of flying. So I like the fact that it's versatile and covers both of those drone models, because some of the others really only hold the basic controller, and then if you decide to upgrade to a smart controller later on, you've got to buy another case, and I don't want to deal with that. So this case has got everything you need. So stay tuned next, and I'll show you what fits in there, and then I'll come back at the end with a couple of other final thoughts, because I know it may seem crazy that Rick's talking about a case for 10 minutes, but this could be the most important accessory you buy for your drone. And I know a lot of accessories like ND filters and chargers and extra batteries are important, but this is the basis of protecting that really big investment you've made in the drone, and it's super important you get a good case to take care of that. So stay tuned and I'll take a closer look next. Then I'll come back with a couple of final thoughts. So for the closer look, I actually took the top off the case, and that's really easy to do. There are 2 pins that slide in from either end here. You simply flip those up and pull them out, and the top pops off. Now, I don't know why you do that out in the field, but I did it here to make it easier to see the different sections inside the case. As I mentioned, the foam is very resilient, but the actual cutouts were laser cut to be just the right size for all of the different things you're going to put inside the case. So they're small enough to hold it really well, but not make it too hard to get it back out, but they're not too big and sloppy like a lot of the cases where things are going to bounce around. So you can see you've got a spot in the middle for the drone, standard controller goes here, smart controller goes there, you've got room for 2 batteries plus 1 in the drone, you've got a charging hub slot right here, charger here, and then a bunch of other nooks and crannies where you can hide things. So in the bottom actually here, you've got spots below the smart controller where you can put a few things, maybe your filter kits or a lanyard, whatever you want to put in there. So to start with, I've got the drone, and it works really well with the actual covering on it as well. So it slides down in there nice and snug. It's not too snug where I had a hard time getting it in or have a hard time getting it out. I like that, but it's not going to rattle around, which is really nice. Batteries going here. There's battery 2, battery 3. Got 1 in the drone. Here's the charging hub. Again, perfectly fit for the charging hub. Charger goes down here. I put the cable in first just like that. Put the charger in on top of it, and that's good to go. The controller, I've got the standard controller right here. That slides down in here. Now watch, it goes down that far. I have to push it, so it's a little bit firm, but it's not gonna pop out on its own, but it comes out really easy as well. So again, perfect size. Now I've got a couple of accessories. I'm not taking the smart controller with me today, but I use a tablet extender. This is a Drone Valley product, and I'll slide that in right there. And I've got a lift kit for the Mavic 3 II. I use that a lot in the field because I want to give it a little extra height when I'm landing. And these fold down nice and small, and that fits in right here. Now I still have plenty of room for propellers, filter kits, whatever else I want to bring along. And what I like so much about it is I know everything I need is with me. Now, one other thing I didn't mention earlier, which is really important, is if you're going to take this on a plane, there could be an imbalance in the pressure inside the case at ground level and outside the case when you get up at 30,000 feet. So this case actually has an automated pressure relief valve right there. It's automatic. You don't have to do anything with it. Some of the other cases, you've got to manually adjust that knob mid-flight to let the pressure equalize between outside the case and inside the case. So I love that it's automatic. These are the claws that I was talking about, the power claw latching. And again, that's the lock position. You can see it's out of the way. It's not going to open on its own. To open it, you pull down gently, pull this up, and then pull it off the top of the case. So that's their power latching system. And I've never had these pop open on me. And believe me, I've dropped these cases a bunch of times. Also, you see the foam on the handle I was talking about before? Now, it's in the down position lock now, but you lift it up to use it. When you let go, it locks against the case. The reason that's important is because if you're sliding in the back of your car and this thing's sticking out and something slides up against it, you could crack that arm. So I like the fact that it's spring-loaded and actually closes on its own. That's pretty much it for the closer look. For me, this is like the perfect size to carry everything I need out in the field for a day of flying and not have to worry about, gee, did I forget something that I'm bringing along. I hope that closer look was helpful, and I'm super impressed on how much gear I can fit into this case with the Mavic 3 Pro. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind when you're comparing the Nanuk 925 to other cases you may be considering, because again, there's a wide variety of cases out there at different price points. These are key things to keep in mind. So for starters, you want to make sure any case you're considering is crush-proof, because if it flexes even a little bit, you put something heavy in the top of it, it could push down on the drone, maybe damage the propellers, crack a battery. There's a lot of things that can go bad. Most of the cases have foam on the top, but you want to make sure it's crush-proof because you don't want to be dealing with replacing that case in a year. You want to hang on to it for a long time. Another key difference between a lot of the cases on the market is the quality of the foam. And I mentioned that earlier. There are cases out there that have foam in them that look like this, but the foam is not that resilient. So over time, putting a drone in, pulling it out on and off a couple of times a week, you're going to wear that foam down and that foam's going to start flaking and it's going to get into everything. It's like the worst possible situation. So you want to make sure you get a case that's got really resilient foam. Another key difference is the way the forms are cut into the foam. Now, Nanuk uses a laser cutting process that actually perfectly mimics the size of the drone, the controller, the accessories to fit in there. Now, that's a tricky business because if you cut them too small to make it really tight to put them in there, that's a pain to get out. But if you make them a little bit too big, then everything's rattling around inside there. And even though it's cushioned, you've still got electronics that's getting shaken up in the back of your car. So they've done a great job of balancing those two things between being too tight and being too loose, where it just fits in, it's easy to get it back out. I talked about the latching before. They've got this power claw technology, which I just love. When I first got the case, it took me a little while to get used to unlatching it and latching it, but I love the fact that it stays closed. I can hit the tabs and open it up, and I also love the fact that I can lock them in the open position so they're out of the way. When I open the case, if I'm out flying, I can close it when I'm flying, open it up again, and not have to deal with the latches. So the handle's nice. It's a folding handle that locks in the folded position as well. It's got a little cushioning underneath. When you get heavier drones like this, it's really nice to have that cushioning, because if you're walking across the long field, or you've got to walk a long way to get to a lake, you know, that hard plastic can wear on your fingers over time. So for me, that's just a comfort thing. But overall, I like it. Nanuk has been in the business a really long time, so you're not buying a case where in a year they're going to be gone. And the last thing I'll mention, again, about the size of the case is I think they've done the best they can to be frugal on size, to not make it bigger than it has to be, make it just big enough to fit everything you need in the case, even using a smart controller or the standard controller, which I love the fact that I can put both in there, because right now I'm flying with the standard controller, and that gives me that gigantic spot over there to put in landing gear and a tablet holder and anything else I bring out in the field with me, ND filters, whatever you're bringing. And if I want to use the smart controller, I can pop that in there, and I've got plenty of space for that as well, which means I don't have to buy two cases. I buy one case that covers everything I need. A lot of the other cases are either made for the smart controller or they're made for the standard controller. And if you decide to upgrade later on or decide to bring a different controller, you've got two cases you got to deal with, and I'm not a fan of that. So that's pretty much it for today. I hope you found this review helpful. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, happy flying.